Alright guys, with all roster here, and today I'm going to be reviewing episodes 5 to 8 of the Mae Young Classic. They were uploaded yesterday. I'm a little bit behind, I didn't watch them immediately yesterday, I had priorities. So I watched them today from about 2 o'clock, finished them about 10 minutes ago, and I'm going to give you my thoughts. Overall, I will just say they were a lot better. The match quality was a lot higher, there was less average in fine matches, there was no bullshit match like the Rachel Evers-Marty Bell match, certainly not. There wasn't a bad match in sight really, but there were still a couple of matches which were And I will say this is still no Cruiserweight Classic, which I did expect it to be. But I will say there were some very, very good matches, and I thought 2 great matches at the end. But let's kick off it with episode 5. The opening contest was Abby Lath. This is the last 16, obviously. We had Abby Lath, who of course beat Jazzy Gabbard in the first round, as she took on Rachel Evers, who of course beat Marty Bell in the worst match I've ever seen. No, I'm joking. But it was pretty horrendous. I think I gave it like a star. But this was good. This was a good match. This had a good pace. Abby Lath gave her a suicide early. A tope early, sorry. Rachel Evers hit an RKO out of nowhere, which was hilarious. For a 2 count, which made me laugh uproariously, as Brian Alvarez would say. But then they did a cool double down off a pump kick, which was cool. Evers hit a power slam off the top rope for a near fall. She then went for a running lariat, and Abby Lath hit a pop-up powerbomb pretty much and got the gator clutch, the alligator clutch, inspired by Mae Young. For the 1-2-3, Abby Lath advances. This was a good match to start off the show here. Not a great showing for Evers, but I think that Abby Lath did very well here with Rachel Evers. I think Abby Lath was actually one of the standouts in the tournament for me, so good match here, and gave it 3 stars. Then we had Piper Niven against Serena Deeb. Serena Deeb wasn't played up a lot in this matchup. In the first matchup, it was she's back, she's a vet, she's trying to redeem herself, and it wasn't touched upon in this matchup a lot, and I guess I know why, because she eventually lost. This matchup, though, it wasn't too bad. Serena attempted to pick Piper up to no avail at the beginning, with Piper just squashing her. She eventually, though, I believe, got knees up off a senton, which was okay. Serena got a top rope code breaker and then hit a power slam, which I thought was a cool, smart spot. It wasn't a power slam, it was more like a world's strongest slam. Piper got a cannonball into the corner. Serena got a headlock driver. It looked like a headlock driver. It was a weird thing. It was weird. Top rope splash from Piper connects. Piper missed the top rope splash though. Serena went for a spear. Piper countered, spun around, got the Michinoku driver for the 1-2-3. Serena Deeb out. And that really shocked me. I didn't think they'd eliminate her that early on in the season or in the series. But hey, Piper Niven, a good matchup. I gave it 3.25 stars. This had a good pace to it, had a good tempo, told a decent story, and some good action. So 3.25 stars. One of the best matches of the tournament so far. Then we had Princess Sue Hay against Mercedes Martinez. I wasn't particularly impressed by Princess Sue Hay, as I said in the review of the first 4 episodes. I thought that Kaylee Ray was the obviously looked a lot better. And Mercedes Martinez really did outclass Princess Sue Hay. And the right person won. Mercedes Martinez did win. Some good chain wrestling early from Mercedes Martinez. Mercedes just took her over though with strikes, and I love that about Mercedes. She can chain wrestle early, but then she's got this real strong style to her, which is great, and it shows that she is a veteran. She's got all these different styles which she's combined over her years in the business. So good. Princess got a cannonball and then a series of kicks. Mercedes hit 2 amigos and then a rope assisted neck breaker, kind of like what Nikki Cross does as a finish, which I thought was cool. I believe Princess Sue Hay, hit a code breaker, tornado DDT off the top. Princess got the armbar, but Mercedes escaped. Hit a Fisherman's Buster for the 1-2-3. Mercedes Martinez advances to the quarterfinals. Decent match here. I gave it 2.75 stars. Princess Sue Hay again didn't really impress me that much. I'm sorry if you can hear squeaking. That is the chair. And 2.75 stars though. Decent little match here. Finally, the main event on the first episode was Kairi Sane against Bianca. But every time I see Sane, I want to say Sane because of Leroy Sane, who plays for Manchester City. But Bianca Belair. And this match was really good. One of the better matches of the tournament. Probably the second best up to this point. Probably third best behind the Garrett Niven and the Kairi Tessa Blanchard match. But great stuff here. Bianca Belair dominated her with her strong offense early. But Kairi got some big stuff in. but she focused really on Bianca got. So Bianca got suplexes, a big test of, not a test of strength, but a moment where she was just taunting Kyrie, doing the, the press up suplexes. She then hit a chicken wing face buster. Kyrie went to top rope and got that big forearm though, that kind of AJ Styles phenomenal forearm. Power slam by Bianca, I believe, got a 2 count. Bianca then got a fantastic near fall, really believable near fall off of a 450 splash, which I didn't see coming. Kyrie hit a big axe kick, she hit a big sliding D in the corner, a big back fist, and then hit the diving elbow off the top. I love the finish because it put Bianca Belair over tremendously. She took a big kick, a big sliding D, a big back fist, and then the elbow for the pin. This was a very good matchup, 3.5 stars I'm going to give it, and that ends the first show. This was episode 5 was the best show they've done so far. There wasn't a bad match. There was a decent match in the Mercedes match, and everything else I thought was good to very good. So there wasn't a great match on it, but very good stuff. In the main event, pretty good matchup with Piper Niven and Serena Deeb, and a good opener. So best episode of the series so far, and that took us into episode 6. Episode 6, we kicked off with Toni Storm and Lacey Evans. I thought this was really the weakest matchup of all these matches, which isn't saying that much because it wasn't bad. It was just okay. Lacey Evans did a couple of cool things. An elbow, I believe, over the top rope. Toni used some hip attacks early. But then, I believe, a backstabber out of the corner from Toni granted her the opportunity. The offense, sorry. She got a shine, sorry, if Lacey was the heel. But yeah, Northern Lights, really good Northern Lights snap. Well, actually, was it good? Because she did a Northern Lights and really dropped Toni Storm in her head. And remember, you've got to, let's not kill people. But yeah, Northern Lights suplex there. Toni got strong zero out of, I believe she went for the Dude Buster. And, oh no, sorry. How do I explain it? Lacey did the thing where she springs off the canvas and goes to the elbow drop, but Toni got the knees up, picked her up and hit Strong Zero for the pin. Strong Zero it's an air raid crash neck breaker, where it's basically what Okada does. It's air raid crash where you land them on the knee. Cool, good finish, 2.5 stars. It was fine. I preferred Lacey Evans' first match, actually, with Tainara Conti. But anyway, the second match on episode 2, or episode 6, sorry, was Mia Yim, Shayna Baszler. This was really good. Shayna Baszler has the best presence of anyone in this tournament, and I'm going to say it now. She might have been my favourite girl in the whole tournament. Woman in the whole tournament. She has great presence. She's a great heel. I think, but people, she's not a veteran in the wrestling industry. She's got a couple of years, but on the big stage, she's been on a bigger stage than any of these women. She's a UFC star. She's been on pay-per-views for UFC. She's 15 and 11, I believe, in her career. She's 36, so she's got a lot of experience on a big stage. So she knows how to present herself, and she has that real presence that not a lot of women in wrestling today really have. So kudos to Shayna. This matchup, though, pretty good stuff here. They basically, which I loved the beginning, they were swapping leg kicks early, and Mia Yim, gave her a leg kick, and Baszler just shrugged it off and gave her such a hard leg kick, and Mia Yim, just died off that leg kick. Yim got a Rana and then a tope for it, which was cool. Rolling gut wrench suplexes by Baszler, which seemed to have become like a trademark, which I do like, because Cesaro doesn't do it as much. Shayna then worked over the ankle for the ankle lock, which she went locked in several times. Striking combo by Yim finishes with a cool Pele. I do like the striking combos that Mia Yim can throw. A great bridging German from Mia Yim for a 2 count. This was by far the most that Shayna had been tested, obviously, as she beat Zayda pretty easily in the first round, but not to the point where Zayda was crushed. Eventually, Shayna rolls through a German and gets the ankle lock. Again, really close there. Yim then got a sit-out powerbomb for a fantastic near fall, one of the best near falls of the show. Shayna catches Mia Yim off a 450 and taps her out with the rear naked choke for the finish. Shayna Baszler, her finishes, she obviously in the first round she did the Falcon Arrow into the rear naked choke, which is apparently a finish. So that's cool. I like the fact that she's catching people out of nowhere with the rear naked choke. It's because it's a submission which is tough to make, to do out of nowhere, and she's doing it perfectly. So this 450 into the rear naked out of nowhere was fantastic. Mia Yim taps out, 3.25 stars. Baszler looked awesome again, and this is a plot point I do want to add. she did not shake the hand of Mae Young in this match. So, awesome, because she didn't shake the hand of Zayda in the first round either, and that plays into the story of Baszler throughout the tournament. 3.25 stars, pretty good little match here. Then we had Rhea Ripley and Dakota Kai. This was fine. They didn't do a lot, really. Rhea gave Dakota an electric chair facebuster on the apron, which looked a bit painful. And I believe Kai gave Rhea a PK. Rhea Ripley, to me, in this tournament, has nothing. I'm not even lying. She just has nothing. She doesn't have any real presence. She's not great in the ring. She doesn't have any real charisma. She was very bland. She's Australian, and that's her gimmick. And that really sucks. Dakota Kai has a bucket of charisma in comparison. So the right girl easily went over. Dakota Kai won. Dakota Kai won after, I believe she did a snap. It was Rhea Ripley who hit a snap Northern Lights, which was really cool. Didn't kill her. And snap German from Rhea Ripley. And then I believe the Trove Road double foot stomp from Dakota Kai, which they were out up top and they were fighting. And I believe Dakota Kai gave her a forearm. Rhea fell down. Double foot stomp in the Tree of Woe, the Del Rio double foot stomp for the win. I gave it 2.5 stars. This was fine. Again, one of the weakest matches of these episodes, but not bad, but just fine. I don't watch wrestling for fine. I don't pay, which I do, to watch fine wrestling. But the right girl went over. Rhea Ripley, as I said, just hasn't got anything. Then we had the main event of episode 6, which was Nicole Savoy and Candice LeRae. I thought this was fine. Again, I gave it 2.5 stars. This was probably the weakest of the 4 episodes. Because outside of the Baszler match, nothing on this episode really stuck out to me. They did some good stuff. Nicole Savoy, the queen of suplexes, finally hit some suplexes. She did a cool back suplex, a wheelbarrow suplex. But nothing else really happened in this matchup, I'm not going to lie. Candice, they went up top, and then Candice just hit the wild ride for the win. And that was it. And that was really it. Like 2.5 stars, this was fine. But really nothing happened. And episode 6 was the weakest of these 3. It wasn't the worst episode of the whole thing, but it was probably the weakest of these 4 episodes. It was still the Baszler match was pretty good though. I really like Shayna Baszler. I'm not gonna lie. And you'll find out how much I like Shayna Baszler as we get to the next matches. Episode 7, so that episode 6 ended all of the last 16. So in episode 7, we had the 4 quarterfinals matches in 60 minutes, which was fine because each one did feel like it got enough time. The first match of the quarterfinals was Abby Laith against Mercedes Martinez, 2 women who I was impressed with in the tournament, especially Abby Laith. I knew Mercedes was good, and she did exactly what I thought. Abby Laith was one I went into the tournament not particularly thinking she'd be good. I don't know, I didn't see she had a tattoo for most of the tournament, which I just thought she was a stereotypical blonde, but she wasn't, and she's good. She's good in this tournament. And this match here with Mercedes, I thought was decent. Like Shane wrestled early, as Mercedes does in most of her matches. Mercedes then just killed her with a palm strike, and just Abby Laith died. Then Abby did fight back. She got some good arm drags in there. They exchanged strikes with forearms and slaps, which was very good because it was nice to see Abby Laith have some real fire. Abby Laith gave her a pump kick for a 2 count. There was a crossbody to the outside by Laith, which was cool but death-defying. Snap German by Laith, which again was cool. Abby Laith really got in a lot of offense and did look very good against Mercedes. But in the end, Mercedes got that Fisherman's Buster again for the 1-2-3, kind of out of nowhere, but which the crowd, it felt like a flat finish. It was kind of out of nowhere, which is probably why my grades bumped down a little bit. I gave it 2 3/4 stars. I thought that Abby Laith, she had a good tournament. I'm not going to lie, she did have a good tournament. She did surprise me, so kudos to Abby Laith. And I wouldn't mind the company signing her. Mercedes Martinez here should have gone to the semis, easy peasy. So absolutely, I think you needed a veteran in the semi-finals, and Mercedes is the veteran of the tournament. Her and Serena was out, and I think that Mercedes was probably the better option, especially with who she'd be facing. And talking about who she'd be facing, the next matchup, Candice LeRae, Shayna Baszler. The thing is I really enjoyed this match because it went 3 minutes, but it was perfect for 3 minutes. Candice LeRae didn't look weak in the slightest. She took out Baszler early. Baszler mocked her, but Candice LeRae was like, don't mock me, I will kill you. So she gave her a tope suicida into a tornado DDT, which was cool. She then looked in an octopus stretch, and this was really, again, the most that Baszler had been pushed, and that was cool. She then turned that octopus stretch into, and this was cool, the Gargano escape. which I died at when I saw it. Gargano was in the crowd cheering Candice on, obviously. Baszler picked her up and hit a sidewalk slam, which was cool. Candice then, she'd exhausted everything, so she was like, right, I need to hit the wild ride. She went for the Candice's wild ride. Baszler countered it into the rear naked choke. Candice LeRae taps out immediately. Baszler keeps the hold on until the referees drag Baszler off. 3 minutes this went, as I just said, but this was great for 3 minutes. 3.25 stars I'm going to give it. The angle after the match with Baszler just mocking poor Candice LeRae and Johnny Gargano, just berating Candice and kicking her in the leg, and then berating the crowd. And just Baszler looks like the man in this tournament. I love Shayna Baszler so much. Again, I think she might be my favourite woman in this tournament, and that's in a tournament with Kairi. So, hey, 3.25 stars, 3 minutes, one of the best 3-minute matches you'll ever watch. Because it was perfect. It was perfectly booked. And as an angle as well, it was a perfect angle because it made Shayna out to be this just bastard-like heel. So, kudos to these two women. And it doesn't hurt Candice LeRae. She lost in 3 minutes because she lost to Baszler. Then we had Toni Storm, Piper Niven. This was a very good matchup. Piper Niven and Toni Storm, again, they worked the size and speed match, which I've seen too many of, and that's my main real discrepancy with the tournament. I've seen too many times size and speed. It's just, be different with your matches. The best thing about the Cruiserweight Classic was how different matches were. You had guys who were technical, you had your strong style, you had your luchas, you had your high flyers, you had all these different styles, and they made for different matches. In this one, you've got a lot of big, small guys and or gals, and it a little bit too many. But anyway, Piper Niven and Toni did have a very good matchup. Toni at the beginning, which was very, very cool. She kind of mocked. Well, no, they kind of mocked each other early because they had a kind of fun start to the matchup where they were going for covers and the shoulders were both down and they both kick out, and it was fun and it was different and exciting, which cool. Like different, exciting is cool. They then did. Piper just gave her a cool running cross body, which is cool. I'm saying the word cool way too much, but whatever. Backstabber from Toni, hip tax from Toni, and then I believe she ran into Piper, who hit a Michinoku driver, but Toni kicked out, which is the first time the finish has been kicked out, which is cool. And I just said cool again. Cannonball from Piper, German suplex off the top rope by I believe Piper had exhausted everything in her arsenal, so she's like, right, I need to crush poor Toni Storm. She went up to the top, but as she was up the top, Toni throughout the match has been teasing a German to Piper. So as Piper was up top, Toni went behind her, got the German, gave her a German off the top, and then hit a leg drop off the top rope. For the 1-2-3, Toni Storm advances. Very good match. 3.5 stars I'm going to give these ladies. Very good stuff. And hey, Toni Storm advances to the semi-finals again. When I remember last episode when I said the 3 women I thought would be in the finals, or the 3 women I thought would win it, would either be Toni, Kairi, or Baszler. So I'm not too bad. And then we had the final match of episode 7, which was Dakota Kai against Kairi Sane. This was very good. Pretty good, actually. Not very good. Kairi was fast out the gate. She got a blockbuster, she got a spear, and then eventually Dakota Kai injured her leg after she missed that double foot stomp Tree of Woe. Kairi got that big forearm, but then Kai did get some great offense in. She hit a big head kick, but she missed the haluva kick again, injuring the leg. Kairi just went to work on the back, hit the Alabama slam, hit the elbow. 1, 2, 3. Kairi advances. 3.25 stars I'm going to give this one. Very good matchup. Kairi, again, probably the MVP of the tournament, having the best matches every round. Just, hey, she's great. She's great. I knew she was great, and she's being great. So, although she hasn't had this match so far as good as the Tessa Blanchard match. But anyway, that was the end of episode 7, and again, a pretty good little episode when you think about it. You had the Baszler angle, which was fantastic, and I do just want to say one thing I did forget. After the Piper Niven match, they shot a segment backstage where the 3 horsewomen from UFC, it was Ronda and I can't remember the other two's name, I do apologise, with the 3 horsewomen of NXT. You had Becky, Charlotte and Bayley, and they had a little standoff, and it was nice, and it was short, and all that was said was time and place, and then the girls walked away. So cool and subtle, I like it. But that was the end of episode 7, and episode 7 had 2 great angles, the Shayna Baszler heel turn, which, I mean, I thought she was heel in the beginning anyway, but this really solidified her, going after a really sympathetic babyface in Candice, and by associating Candice with Johnny Gargano, you really suggest that she's a sympathetic babyface. And then you had the horsewoman angle, which was cool. And then you had, of course, the match quality. 3 matches, I believe I gave 3.25 stars. Oh no, sorry, it was 2.75 stars to the Mercedes match, I believe. 2.75 stars to the Mercedes match, and then 2 matches at 3.25, 1 at 3.5. So probably again the best episode of the series so far. And then we had episode 8, which was the final episode. The 2 semi-finals were all this episode had, and we had the first one, which was Mercedes Martinez against Shayna Baszler. This was awesome. I put my phone down, and I'm gonna need it because I'm gonna need to round off some spots. But this matchup here was my favourite match of the tournament. I thought Mercedes and Shayna killed it. Shayna Baszler, as I've just said, presence, and this match just worked because they mentioned how Mercedes and Shayna had a history and how Mercedes was kind of like the protege. Shayna was her protege, and their styles really do complement that idea. And all throughout the tournament, Shayna didn't shake anyone's hand. She didn't shake Charlotte Xia Lee's hand. She didn't shake Mia Yim's hand. She didn't shake Candice's hand, but she shook Mercedes' hand because of the history, and that was cool. That was a cool spot. And then they just went at it. So the story of this match, really, to me, and is why I loved it so much, was Shayna was pushed more than she had been in any other match, which was the story of all the matches and the story for a tournament for Shayna. But in this one, it was all about weathering the storm. She had to weather the storm, the strikes. Shayna was dominated in the first couple of minutes by Mercedes. Mercedes just killed her with strikes, and that was great. That was really great, because it showed Shayna's not just... She doesn't just beat people, but she is a tough badass who can take punishment, which in a lot of other matches outside of the Yin match, it hasn't really looked like that. So, although of course Candice did do some big moves with the Tope DDT and stuff, but here she really got pushed, and she took big strikes. Shayna took she weathered the storm, and then eventually she got those rolling gut wrenches. She got the knee bar on Mercedes, but Mercedes did fight out. Mercedes, however, locked in red ink, and again it was all about Baszler weathering the storm and weathering Mercedes, weathering the veteran. Baszler fought out of that, and they had a great exchange of forearms. Shayna and that was awesome, because they were exchanging forearms, and Shayna just took one, and she just looked at the camera, and she was angry and pissed off at Mercedes, and this was when she kicked up to that next gear and started to really fight and fire back at Mercedes Martinez. Shayna with a huge, sick leg kick. She then goes for the Falcon Arrow, but Mercedes countered it, got that Fisherman's Buster, but she, I believe, couldn't get the pin. Yes, but she couldn't get the pin, and that was great. Story moment there. She knew that Shayna was going to go for that Falcon Arrow, countered it, got that Fisherman's Buster, but couldn't get the cover because of the work on the ankle by Shayna. Shayna then, I believe, was getting ragdolled by Mercedes. This was awesome stuff here. Mercedes, Saito suplexes and a German to Shayna, but Shayna would not give up. Mercedes went for a second Fisherman's Buster. Shayna countered it, got the Falcon Arrow, got the rear naked choke. Mercedes fights and fights, but eventually taps out. This match had an outstanding story. Outstandingly told story. It was about two people that are friends, but they both wanted to win. And it told a fantastic story. It was about weathering a storm for Shayna, which I've mentioned a lot, but that's the focus. And then, of course, it was about Shayna. Her finish was countered by Mercedes when she hit her finish, and in the end, Mercedes' finish was countered by Shayna, and then she won. So that was great story, 4 stars, really good stuff, really, really good stuff. I loved this match when I watched it, and it was great, loved it. And that led us into the final matchup that was my favourite match of the tournament, by the way, and that led to the final matchup of the Mae Young Classic, Episode 8. The final match before we go to Las Vegas on Tuesday night, which will be 2 o'clock in England. Great. Will be Wednesday morning, 2 o'clock. Great. Which I am interested in the final, so touche. The final match was Kairi Sane against Toni Storm. This was, again, very good. This got more time than any other match in the tournament. Got 14 minutes. But this was great stuff. They worked each other over early, and Toni was a little cocky to Kairi, and Kairi was like, fair dues, you are very good. But you're not as good as I am, said Kairi. And Kairi then killed her with a diving crossbody to the outside, where she smashed her head off the grate. Don't do it again, ever, because that looked like it was horrid. Kairi then started to work over Toni's back, which worked, because Toni was going to try Strong Zero later on in the match. so good. And then Tony would start to work over Kairi's arm, or the elbow, sorry, so she couldn't go for the elbow, which was cool. Tony got some big hick attacks, go to another, but she got speared, which was cool. Fishman suplex by Tony for a 2 count out of the corner was very cool. Tony sold the back as well, which was cool. I'm not saying cool a lot, I do apologise, but cool stuff. Tony went up top, I believe, after she got a bridging armbar, focusing on the elbow, really wrenching it like the Ciampa armbar, but Sane escaped. Tony went up top, got that leg drop somehow, but she couldn't get the pin because her back was killing her, which was cool. I like the word cool. And Kairi then just got angry and she gave Tony a big back fist. She locked in a cloverleaf, but Tony survived. She gave her a huge elbow drop to the back on the ground. She then went up top, gave her the elbow drop off the top to the back, to the spine. 1, 2, 3. Nobody kicks out of the elbow drop. And Kairi Sane advances to the final of the Mae Young Classic. After both semi-finals, they had Trips, Steph, and Sarah Amato go out and give them flowers and raise their hands, which was cool. So the final of the Mae Young Classic will be Shayna Baszler and Kairi Sane. Exactly what I thought it would be. I'm not going to lie. And I look forward to it because the stories of both women in the tournament have been great. I think both women have had the matches of the tournament. I think the MVPs of the tournament are these two women. The best angles of the tournament have been with Shayna. The best wrestling has really been Kairi. My favourite match of the tournament, I'm going to say, was Baszler and Mercedes. It just told a fantastic story. And that was the last episode 8 of the Mae Young Classic. So now we head towards Tuesday night or Wednesday morning, the finals of the Mae Young Classic. I imagine they'll throw some other women like Laith and Piper and maybe Santana Garrett I'd like to see again in. Which I'd love to see because we're not just going to have that finals. That finals, though, does excite me, and I do want to stay up for that and watch that final because I think Baszler and Sane can go either way. Which way would I like it to go? I love both women because I think they're both great. If the idea is that the winner will get the NXT Women's title, I think Baszler should win because I think if we are going to crown a champion, then what we've done in our last 2 tournaments, we had the Cruiserweight Classic where TJP won, babyface. We had the UK tournament where, Tyler Bate won, babyface. So I think we should have a heel win the first ever Mae Young Classic. We don't always have to have babyfaces win these tournaments. So if you give Baszler the win, either way I don't care. I think both women can win it, but I think Baszler has more to capitalise on. I think Kairi's amazing, and I think Kairi and Baszler will have a hell of a match. I hope so anyway. But I think Baszler she's got legitimacy, she's got great presence. She's older, so I feel like you should capitalise on her now. And I think Kairi can win the belt, the NXT belt, or she could go to the main roster. Kairi's signed, and I don't know if Shayna is yet. So it leads me to believe they will go Kairi. And if they do, great. I really don't care which way they go. But I think from a standpoint of booking stories and booking, I may go Baszler. And I think you can do some horsewomen stuff with Baszler and bring Bayley or Charlotte or Becky down to NXT for a bit and have Baszler go against one of those guys, one of those lasses, and that could be a hell of a story. Or you could have, Asuka eventually return, Asuka and Baszler, 2 unbeatable Goliaths. Asuka and Sane, though, sounds great. It was believed to me before this tournament started that the winner of this tournament would eventually go on to dethrone Asuka. Now Asuka has had to relinquish the belt, which I haven't talked about yet on my channel, but I do think it's silly. I think it's idiotic that she's relinquished the belt. She's injured for 6 to 8 weeks. She won't defend the belt in that time. So I found it really silly. She's going to the main roster. I hope they don't 50-50 book her, because if they do, they're fucking retards. But yeah, I think that it should be a hell of a final. I don't really care which way it goes. As I said, I think Baszler's the better option. But hey, that's it, guys. So that is all 8 episodes of the Mae Young Classic. I reviewed all 4. I've reviewed all them in 4s. So if you haven't watched my first 4 reviews, please check them out. My first 4 episode review, check them out because I enjoyed it. I enjoyed some of it. Anyway, guys, thanks for watching. This has been Raw Slot. Like, comment, subscribe for more. Tell me your thoughts. What did you think to the Mae Young Classic? Who was your standout MVP of the tournament? To me, it was Kyrie and Baszler, who are coincidentally in the final. Who's your pick to win the tournament? I'm gonna go Kyrie, although I'd like Baszler. What's your match for the tournament? As I've said, Mercedes and Baszler to me. And you know, there's three standouts to me: Mercedes, Baszler, the Kyrie Tony match, and then the Kyrie Tessa match are the three best matches to me. With Santana and Piper having a really good match, and Piper having some really good matches in the tournament, and I wouldn't mind seeing her signed. Which competitor do you think did? What was your standout competitor that didn't make it to the final? I suppose so. Abby Lath to me was a pretty good standout. I thought Mercedes had a good tournament. Tony Storm obviously had a decent tournament after the first two rounds really. But I guess that's it, guys. Thanks for watching, and this has been Revolver Rossler. I look forward to reviewing the Mae Young Classic on Wednesday morning. So, guys, I'll see you then.